Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Versus. This is where I take two Rainbow Six Siege operators and put them up against each other and see which one is better in my own personal opinion or in the very objective opinion, depending on how I feel. Both of the operators I'm going to be looking at today were added with the Operation Chimera DLC, and those two operators are called Lion and Finka. We're going to today be looking at their loadouts, their gadgets, and giving you some tips and tricks, and all concluding with my own conclusion of which one is better. With all that said, let's get into the video.
My life is a party, my home is the club. I party like a rock star, dance until I drop. My life is a party, my home is the club. Biohazard container located.
So today we're going to be starting off with Lion. Lion is a 2-speed, 2-armor operator, and his loadout consists mainly of a lot of weapons that you've seen before, but one that we haven't. That would be the V308 assault rifle-ish, I think. I don't really remember if it's an assault. I don't really know if it's officially an assault rifle or an LMG because it feels like both, and here's the reason why. The V308 is chambered in 308 rounds, which is more of an assault type rifle type of rounds. They do a very moderate amount of damage and have a very kind of slow-ish fire rate, but not the slowest that you could possibly have. It's very good at laying down a bit of covering fire, and sounds actually pretty awesome. It's different in a lot of aspects to Mira's Vector, which is again very similar in look, but they are very different in the way that they act. Whereas Mira's seems to be more of a very fast shooting SMG, the V308 is more of a assault rifle LMG hybrid, but it feels very powerful and very impactful. Again, it can have all the standard attachments grips. It can have the vertical grip, but not the angled grip. It can have a barrel attachment, laser sight, and of course an optic. And personally, what I like to run with this one is a foregrip, a compensator, and a holographic sight, because again I like the way that it looks. The other 4 guns in his loadouts, 2 primaries, 2 secondaries, are the 417 marksman rifle, the SGCQB, the P9 pistol, the LFP586, and of course, all of them I've talked about previously, but just to go over them really briefly, the 417 marksman rifle is the same one that he shares with Twitch. It's a DMR rifle with 10 rounds. And fairly decent accuracy. 2-shot kills at most ranges, and it does a lot, and it's, again, a DMR, so it's a single-shot gun. The SGCQB is a shotgun that's pump action, which is a slower rate of fire, but does more damage to the environment, and it hits very hard, but it has a very slow rate of fire. It's one of the few it's one of the only pump action shotguns in the game currently to actually be able to have a grip, as opposed to just holding it like our standard shotgun, which I find very interesting, because it actually helps in a lot of respects. The P9 pistol and the LFP45 are both a clip-fed and a revolver-style guns, respectively. And again, it's more of which one you want to go with, and again, they can have various types of attachments, and you'll be able to figure all that out. Very simple. His secondary gadget is the claymores or the stun grenades, and personally, I would like to go with the stun grenades for one simple reason of his gadget actually complements stun grenades in a very interesting way, and I'll get into that in his gadget phase. Moving on to Finka. Finka is again one of those operators that was originally part of another CTU, and this one being a Spetsnaz unit, and it's very interesting for a few different reasons, but we're just going to talk about her new gun first. This is the Spear 308 gun. The Spear 308 is again chambered in 308 rounds, and again feels more like how Lion's V308 gun feels, an LMG assault rifle hybrid with a very high mag capacity as well as a kind of slowish rate of fire, having all of the standard attachments, foregrips, barrel, laser, and even an optic. And the optics are interesting because being part of the Spetsnaz unit, she actually has access to the Spetsnaz specific looking optics. They don't function any different, but they just look different from the other optics and can actually provide different information. And somehow, like, some of them like look clearer than others in some respects. But again, that's just my own personal opinion. It is nice to see a lot more of those things being accessed. Her other 4 guns are the SASG-12, the 6P-41, and the PMM pistol and the GSH-18. All of these guns we've talked about previously, but just to go over them really quickly, the SASG is a clip-fed semi-auto shotgun that is one of the only shotguns that can actually have a suppressor on the front of it, and it actually acts fairly decently in the way that it works. Again, being a suppressed shotgun is weird, but it's clip-fed. It has all the standard attachments pretty much, and is fairly decent. The 6P-41 is the LMG that she shares with Fuse, and you might actually want to consider running this with her, especially if you're going to be using her gadget often, and because of the way that it functions. The PPM pistol and the GSH pistols are again similar to the revolver versus the P9. The PMM has more damage but less bullets. The GSH has more bullets but less damage. And again, they both can have various attachments. And I think the GSH is one of the few pistols that can actually accompany a compensator, which is interesting. For her secondary gadget, you have the breaching charges and the stun grenades. It's very much a toss-up between the two, but again, I would personally have to say a breaching charge would go a long way over it. She's also a 2-armor, 2-speed operator, just to get that out of the way. Moving on to the gadgets, starting out with Lion. His gadget is a drone that hovers above the map and produces a bunch of sound waves similar to Echo's drone, but unlike Echo's drone, his sound waves detect movement. Any enemy movement that happens within the time frame is immediately marked, and they cannot be unmarked until one of 2 events happen. They either walk into a mute jammer, or the timer runs out. With all of that, it's very interesting. And he has 3 charges of these, and they are on a cooldown of I think 30 to 35-ish seconds, so it can't be spammed over and over again. When you activate the device, there's a countdown from 3, 2, 1, which everyone gets, including the defenders, so they know when to stop moving. Any movement, whether it be very small or very large movement of the feet specifically, that's how they get spotted. You can change stance, you can look around, you can lean, because those don't count as movements. You can also deploy a lot of gadgets and things. Moving on to Finka's gadget. Finka has another one of those universal gadgets, which basically is a buff to the entire enemy, to the entire friendly team, I should say, not the enemies. Her gadget is similar in some aspects to Doc's, but does a few extra little tidbits. When you activate her device, you instantly get 20 extra hit points in multiplayer, but 40 extra hit points in Outbreak and some of the other co-op modes, I think. And it will, again, do it, and it will mark, and it will, you can see how long it is in the timer in the corner. It lasts for, I think, around 15 seconds? I don't know specifically how long it lasts. But it does last for quite some time, and in that time frame, you get the 20 extra hit points, as well as reduced recoil from your guns and increased ADS times. This can turn certain operators into complete and utter laser cannons, with their shot accuracy landing on point very much more consistency. Again, I don't have anything specifically on the recoils then, but it is a very significant difference, and probably someone else will cover that more in depth, or maybe I will. Also, you get this blue hue around it, and and you can kind of tell when it happens. Moving on to some tips and tricks and counters. So there are a few counters here that are very interesting for each of them. Let's start off with Lion's counters. Lion's main counter is just going to be the enemy team standing still. This is a universal counter and one of the first where any operator just standing still will be able to counter his gadget 100% of the time. No movement, no gadget, no spotting. And again, that's how it works. But he has another softer counter, that being mute. Whenever mute places down his jammers, similar to how when you can block a call from Dokebi if she calls you beforehand, you can block the spotting from happening from the mute jammer. However, unlike Dokebi, you can actually block it while it's happening. It won't happen often, but within the radius of the mute jammer, you can actually make it so that way you can't get spotted when you're within that mute jammer thing. Even if you walk out of a mute jammer, if you walk directly back in, you will be unspotted and completely invisible to the enemy team. They will, however, know your general location, but so long as you either do it quickly or you get to a certain location where they just lose track of you, they're just gonna it's just gonna be weird. Yeah, so that's mainly his thing. There's no other really hard counters to his thing, which I find a little bit disappointing because you have Vigil, but again, it's hard to really balance that in some way. Moving on to Finka. Finka has a few more counters than Vigil. Finka's counters are mainly going to be Lesion, Smoke, and Echo, as well as a few other operators. Finka's main one is going to be Lesion and Echo because of the sheer fact that when her thing activates, if you get hit by an Echo drone while it's activated, you will lose the 20 health and you will lose the buff instantly. I don't know why this works. It just does. What I would think why it works like that is because of the fact that the nanobots in the bloodstream, when they get hit by the sonic wave, actually kind of shut down and it stops working because it's only very temporary, and again, you breathe and do other stuff. It's whatever. It's very hard to. That's what it is. Anyway, another counter is going to be Lesion. If you step on any Lesion mines while it's activated, you will lose the buff, and you will be poisoned by the Lesion mine. Again, because of the poison within the Lesion mine, it shuts down the nanobots within your bloodstream, and it stops it from working. You will also lose the buffs, of course. And then for Smoke, Pulse, and I think one more operator. For Smoke and Pulse, mainly, they're actually going to get a buff whilst you're not there. The buff being that you're going to be breathing faster, and your heartbeat's going to be going faster as well while this is activated. This increases and makes it easier for Pulse to see you through walls, and it also makes it easier for Smoke to kill you. You will not be able to go from one side of a smoke to another and come out breathing fine. You will eventually be taken down and easily killed by the smoke, and it makes it just much more effective. Trust me, it's insane. With all of that said, let's move on to my final conclusions, as well as giving you which one I think is better. So, between the two, Lion and Finka, which one is better? From my own personal opinion standpoint, I can't really tell which one is better because I've seen gameplay of them and I've been in a bunch of games with them, but I can't really tell which one is specifically better. While both of them have their rights to do it, I don't want to call this one a tie, so I've decided to take some objective standpoints and look at it purely from an objective and from a non-opinion based standpoint, and that being that when you get down to it, the easier one is definitely going to be Finka, mainly due to the fact that her gadget is a bit more foolproof than Lion's. Not to say that Lion's gadget is worse in comparison, it's just that Lion's gadget relies a lot more on team communication rather than actual self-proclaimed rather than actually yourself. Lion's drone can mainly only be used in that sense for him, if like similar to Dokebi, if you don't have communication within the team, your gadget isn't going to be as effective because of the sheer fact that it's just not going to be, because they don't know when you're going to be activating it and when to actually push, and sometimes calling it out works. And again, that 3-second countdown probably is the reason why but yes, in the objective standpoint between Lion and Finka is better because she gives more buffs and helps out her team a bit more. While it does create standpoints that it does require communication, it doesn't require as much communication as Lion. So, in my personal opinion, which one wins between Lion and Finka? That would have to be Finka. But am I wrong? Are you wrong? Do you think I got some things wrong? Do you think that there are more counters? Is there anything there? Leave them all down in the comment section below. Please sure to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe this video, and also hit that bell notification so you can get notification whenever I upload a new video. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this rant. Thank you so much for watching the tips and tricks and this versus episode of Rainbow Six Siege. I will see you all next time. Peace off.